All right. What's up, everyone? Here's my week, whatever reflection. First article was on fostering autonomous motivation and early literacy. Early on in the reading, I highlighted a quote where it said, "It's reasonable to assume that distinct talents are demanded of teachers who serve students at different stages along the literacy developmental continuum." I thought it was important because teachers are all their own unique individual, right? And they have certain strengths and weaknesses. And for me personally, I feel like middle school science is going to be a big strength for me. Most people say middle schoolers are crazy. They're going through puberty and hormones and everything. And I just feel that I can handle that better than most and would rather avoid like high school students where I would have to be like a stricter parent, where kids are cutting class, they're getting high, they're just doing bad things in general, right? And middle schoolers will probably like be more in line to eat up like cheesy dad crap, like, you know. So, yeah. Next, I highlighted where it says students of more competent teachers scored significantly higher on end of grade 1 and end of grade 2 literacy assessments in school. Really? Like, of course they would. Like, if you have a crap teacher, you're not going to do well. It's the stats show, like, straight up. But okay, so then in the next page and everything, next passage, there was an excerpt that was grabbed where it said, to prepare a new kind of teacher, one must think harder, longer, deeper in order to instruct diverse learners in responsive and responsible ways. Now, this is important. This is big because for us, for our, like, my whole cohort and everything, like, it's going to get harder. It's just going to be tougher for teachers to be properly evaluated. Student scores are not the best barometer now or yesterday or anything, and it's only going to be harder with more ELL students coming through the system. And we're being taught and pushed to develop new and unique ways to awaken our students' minds and make genuine connections to their cultural and personal backgrounds between the students and the lesson subject, like the lesson plan and everything, to bridge it better and make them like understand and comprehend it more, like just absorb it in a better way. Now, these metrics are not going to be the same across all teachers, and you can't just have an easy like status report and update on how a specific teacher is doing. And another way that it's getting harder to judge a teacher is where it listed in the article that many countries, the students are required to attain a higher level of literacy by age 10 than in previous years. And this is, students are being asked to learn more. And my question with that is, about learning about more or learning more, because you can learn about more subjects. Like, I mean, I'm older, so I'm gonna be out of the loop and everything. When I was in school, we had electives like woodshop and home ec, electronics. Even electronics, I took 3 years or 2 years or so, and I don't know the basics of it. I mean, it's yeah. But with languages and everything too, I took Spanish. I took it for 2 years. I don't know anything now. Like back then, I was all right, but still, and I was good in Spanish. But are there more language options? I know my sister's younger than me, and I have friends that like now they offer Mandarin and Italian. But what about like elective classes? And if you're talking about like comparing to my classes, what about computer programming or something like that, where it would like maybe lead you on a better path for the future to get a job in a tech industry? Or instead of like, I learned accounting, basic accounting, I haven't had a checkbook since I was 20 years old, man. Like nobody does. So why not teach kids 401ks or how stocks and bonds or property, like invest in property and everything. I know the government, like our government is a capitalist government and they want kids to learn to just grow up to be like worker bees and feed into the system. But we can maybe groom some better CEOs. And I mean, on that note, bringing politics is like an option, like an elective and everything. And maybe we can save this damn planet already. But I don't know. Sorry for the rant and everything, but it's just, I think there should be a different level of learning for kids and everything. And yeah, so anyway, next, it highlighted, or my next passage that I marked was where teaching expertise differ by grade level, and it listed a bunch of different important topics. I really liked the strategies to motivate students was a big thing because like to be graded upon and everything and observed on that. I think that is important for a teacher to show their strengths of different motivational techniques. The next thing is talents called upon frequently to reteach concepts. That's a hard metric to grasp or idea about like having to reteach students. And I think that is important. And that's a big grading thing where student A might grasp everything like this. But B, it takes a little bit more help. And how I can or another teacher can relate to them and get them to pick it up, that's going to be an important measure as being a teacher. The other part that I thought was important out of the 5 or 6 actually was the types of relationships built between with the students. So teacher student relationship, you do have to make that connection with them. It's got to be genuine. You can't fake that. It's just, I think that's really important. And then on that, I highlighted, so I want to teach middle school, so I highlighted some of the grade 5 teaching level critiques, and I liked the adapting large scopes of knowledge for the students. I thought that was interesting, and being in touch with pupil impulse needs and to actually like think like a 5th grader. I think that is important for teachers to be able to put themselves in their shoes and think how a 5th grader or a 2nd or 3rd grader would think. That's important for just the connection again. Cover massive material while stimulating students' deep interest. So you have to be able to, as a teacher, get the main core process and the concepts through to the children for them to understand it and actually care about it. And then the last bullet on there is to instill in students the desire to autograph their work with excellence, and organize their thoughts, explore, and learn on their own. That's huge. I never cared to learn on my own. And in school, grade school, middle school, high school, whatever, I didn't go outside of the box. Like, I did what I had to do, and that's it. Now, looking back, it would be nice if I did try a little bit harder or did a little bit more, but, what are you going to do? And that's, as a teacher, I have to be aware of that. Like, that is important for students to want to, like, read outside of class. And piggybacking off of the, like, connection that needs to be made, it's, at the end of the article, it listed how the teacher has to be able to have their lesson plan match the ebb and flow and rhythm of the students' varying personalities and the school day and year. This is big because you have to be able to read and adjust to your students, like read your students and adjust to them, like what their strengths are, what their interests are. And you have to be variable. You have to be plastic with that. You have to be able to adjust on the fly. And it mentions how like a humorous comment can go on for 15 seconds and grab the room's attention, and then you go over an abstract concrete or an abstract idea and you cement it, you make it concrete over 2, 3, 4 days so that it sticks and it like gets into their heads and everything. And that's big because otherwise if it's delivered wrong, kids don't care. They're just not gonna want to care about it. But okay, so now second article, I'm at like 9:40. So geez, man, like I'm gonna try and keep this quick, but you know. So yeah, the second article it's highlights intrinsic motivation and the method of getting across to students, not only like making sure that they're able to read, but that they want to read. And you motivate them to be successful learners by reading outside of class, not just doing what they have to do, but grabbing a book and doing it for fun. My wife reads all the time. I don't read. I didn't have a teacher that was like instilling that kind of desire in me. Like I never cared to read on my free time, like for fun. I'd watch movies or play video games. It's just, but yeah, it's a big thing for students to learn, and you get smarter. And but yeah, so with teaching kids and everything, it is like to inform the students and the children and everything how the value of books and reading is so high. It's you can't put a price tag on it. And it's our job to entertain, inform, communicate, and instill that there is a value in reading and literacy in general. And all of these awarenesses are powerful for spreading like knowledge to the children, and we have to read aloud. You know, you have to engage in them with them regularly and interact. And I made a note on here, like my daughter even, with Michaela, not Lucy. Like Goose is just she goes to bed early, so it's easy. But Michaela still needs that like power down time where we read a story to her or just turn the TV on for an hour or so to like let her unwind. I would love to just turn the TV on all the time, but you can't. Like, I have to read to her, or my wife has to read to her, and sometimes you're tired and you don't want to do it, but it helps. It really does. And she loves books, so it's like it's unfair to just be lazy, like as a parent, you know, like you just got to do it. And on the note of like the being a parent, the phonemic awareness, like the phonics and everything, phonological awareness. I mentioned this past week to my wife because I was reading a Dr. Seuss book with the girls, and I mentioned that we did this last week in like this class or another class, and it was really interesting. I wasn't aware of the correlation between phonics awareness and reading literacy before last week, and it makes sense. It's really it's big. It's important just for kids to learn, and that helps strengthen their whole vocabulary and how they can like read words and sound out words. Um, but yeah, and then at the end of the second reading, you had the 12-minute letter name and sound activity. Michaela does it in school. Max doing it all the time with the different letter of the day, and you have to identify lowercase, uppercase, and all that. So over the summer, I feel like I did pretty well with this. I tried to cover a lot of this, and we had workbooks and stuff to help. But yeah, this is very important, and it just makes sense. It's just everything. It's like you have to sort out the right letter, and then you pick out the sound based on different pictures and everything, and it's it's smart. It helps. And okay, so now the video. I'm 13 and change in, but okay, on the video. Right off the bat, it's talking about how the environmental literacy, which is defined as being like things around children, but not necessarily at home, like in their environment. So they talked about a stop sign, the color and shape. The kids know this means to stop, like don't walk, don't cross the street. Or the McDonald's Golden Arches was another reference in there, and how Nike, it's just a brand name. We were talking about that, like I was talking with friends and everything a couple weeks ago, watching the Jordan documentary, which was great. How Nike is probably the biggest brand of my generation. Like it came out of the 80s or maybe late 70s, but I'm from the 80s. Nike's amazing. It's such a big awareness thing. Anyway, okay. So yeah, that was that. And then one of the next topics was about the word count from birth to 5 years old, and how this made me remember a sad thing. So, like for babies, they're babbling, cooing, they cry. A few years back, I watched either a documentary or it was just like a clip from the news. I don't remember exactly, but it was a heartbreaking story about like babies in an orphanage or some like hospital, like nursery hospital and everything in some foreign country that just was, they didn't have money, like it was a poorer country. Not one baby was crying at all. It was dead silence. There was like 100 kids in there and everything. And the reason was because no one ever responded to their cries. So these poor babies were just like, yeah, we're not crying anymore. It's pointless. It's not going to happen. Like nothing's going to, and it just breaks your heart. So for me and for everybody out there, when you have kids of your own or you have nieces and nephews and everything, like when a baby cries, it's hard, it kills you, but just think about it. It means that the baby's loved. Like it really does. And it's, yeah. So, all right. Next topic was like the 30 million word gap. This is big. It explains how quality over quantity. It's not the number count. It's just the breakdown. The total amount of words is bigger, and it just makes sense that a kid will learn better when they're exposed to a huge vocabulary versus a smaller one. And with that, the parents that narrate the surrounding environments for the children, the children respond better when they're being told what's going on. And yeah, sorry, this is going long, man. Then the bubble about the evolutionary standpoint about how less than 5,400 years ago is when we started to read and write. I'm an evolutionary major, like ecology evolution, and we've never gone over this in classes. Like we've learned a lot about how like the bones and muscles and your brain has adapted over the hundreds of thousands of years to incorporate speaking and communication, but I haven't heard about reading before. So that was pretty interesting, and I'm interested in that. Yeah. But all right, and the last thing that I marked was under the EF with inhibition and self-regulation. Yeah, I suffer from that. Like from the lack of ability to inhibit behavior. I jump in, I interrupt people. It's terrible. Like in conversation and everything. I try not to, but I do. I get very excited and worked up easily. I've always thought that it's just because I'm a passionate person. I'm just enthusiastic. But maybe I just lack proper emotional regulation, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm on the same level as an elementary student. And on that note, I'm closing just under 18 minutes. Have a nice weekend, everyone. All right.